So if you're managing a team that's not in the office, you've got a big choice to make. Do you trust them to get the job done? Or do you kind of feel like you need to watch their every move? It's a huge question, right? It pits two classic management styles against each other, and honestly, the stakes have never been higher. Let's get into it. So here's the big question we're tackling. In a remote workplace, which management style is actually more effective? Is it theory X or theory Y? The tight control versus the trust-based approach. And what's great is that our source for this doesn't just, ponder the question, it gives a pretty definitive answer. All right, so let's quickly talk about these two competing management styles. And these aren't just some boring academic labels. No, they're two totally opposite ways of looking at what makes people tick at work. One is all about skepticism, and the other, it's all about trust. Okay, so you've got theory X, the micromanager. This style basically assumes that deep down, people are kind of lazy and you've got to watch them like a hawk to get anything done. It's that classic command and control thinking. And what happens? Well, that constant oversight, it just pushes employees away. Then you have theory Y, the collaborator. This one's the complete opposite. It's built on the idea that people want to do good work and they actually thrive when you give them trust and some breathing room. It's less about being a watchdog and more about being a genuine partner in shared goals. So that really gets to the heart of it, right? When your team is working from home and you can't just walk by their desk, what do? Which approach actually works? Do you double down in control or do you lean into trust? Well, it turns out the answer is surprisingly clear. And we don't have to guess. The source we're looking at has a really clear verdict. It comes down hard on one side of this debate, and it's not just theory, it's based on actual real-world experience. And here it is, plain and simple. Theory Y is more effective, especially when comparing the two. Boom, the verdict is in. When you put them head-to-head for remote work, the collaborative, trust-based model wins, hands down. So why is the answer so decisive? I mean, that's a pretty bold claim, so you'd expect some solid proof, right? So why is the answer so decisive? Well, the evidence isn't some dry statistic on a spreadsheet. It's actually a really powerful personal story that makes the difference between these two theories crystal clear. It's really a tale of two workplaces. The author of our source material shares their own story from two totally different jobs, and it just perfectly shows you the real-world impact of each of these management styles. Okay, so let's start with the author's experience under a Theory X manager. This was a job where the leadership was just deeply skeptical. They fully embodied that Theory X vibe of constant oversight. And this quote just nails it. The micromanaging only serves to push employees away. This really gets to the core of why Theory X is such a disaster for remote work. The manager thinks they're making sure work gets done, but what they're actually doing is the complete opposite. It just breeds resentment and literally pushes good people out the door. It's totally counterproductive. But now, let's look at the flip side. In contrast, we have the author's experience in a Theory Y environment. This new workplace was built on a totally different philosophy, one that's all about genuinely trusting the team. And listen to this. My current organization works collectively well together, and a Theory X type of manager doesn't exist within the department. This is the light bulb moment, The team's high performance wasn't happening despite the lack of micromanagement. It was happening because of it. The source is basically saying that getting rid of that Theory X style was the one thing that unlocked the team's potential to really work together effectively. So, okay, this is more than just one person's story, right? It's a really powerful lesson for any remote team. So what does this mean for you? Let's boil it all down into a few key takeaways. All right, here are the big takeaways from the source. Number one, for remote teams, a collaborative Theory Y approach isn't just nicer, it flat out works better. Number two, micromanagement or Theory X is a total trap. It might feel like you're in control, but you're actually just being counterproductive and pushing your best people away. And finally, a great remote culture isn't built on constant oversight or tracking software. It's built on trust and working together toward a collective goal. Simple as that. And that leaves us with one last question for you to think about. What trait do you value most in a remote manager? Based on your own experience, what's that one single thing that makes the biggest difference? Is it trust? Maybe it's super clear communication? Empathy? It's a really crucial question because as we move forward, how we manage from afar is pretty much going to define who wins and who loses. Thanks for tuning in.